You know, everything we do here at Unity in Greensboro, from the time you walk through that door, is offered to you to help you fly, to help you soar. That is our purpose here in this ministry. And we are so privileged to be a part of that process. Did you feel the energy in here today?
Yes.
It's an incredible energy. There is unity in Greensboro, and I honestly believe, we honestly believe, there will be unity in unity because there's unity in Greensboro.
Wow.
That's the impact we are making. And we're going to take care of each other first, right? Well, you know, today, Cher and I are going to talk about the seventh inning stretch. With the 2014 World Series just beyond the corner, we thought that we'd talk about the seventh inning stretch. And did you know that the origins of the seventh inning stretch are presidential? It turns out that the 27th President of the United States, President William Howard Taft, is remembered for something nobler than his eating habits. His connection to baseball may or may not be apocryphal, but here's the story. On April 14, 1910, he attended a baseball game between Washington and Philadelphia. On the spur of the moment, umpire Billy Evans handed Taft the baseball and asked him to throw out the opening pitch. The president did, and it was a fairly decent pitch. Nearly every chief executive since Taft, with the exception of Jimmy Carter, has opened at least one baseball game during his tenure by tossing out the first pitch. Well, legend has it that Taft also inspired another baseball tradition on that same day. As the game wore on, the rotund 6'2" president reportedly became uncomfortable sitting in his small wooden seat. By the middle of the seventh inning, he could bear it no longer and had to stand to stretch his aching legs and his back. Everyone else in the stadium, thinking the president was leaving, also stood to show their respect. A few minutes later, Taft returned to his seat. The fans also returned to their seat, and the seventh inning stretch was born. Well, this morning, Cher and I are going to talk about a different kind of seventh inning stretch. It's a stretch in consciousness, a stretch in your prosperity consciousness. In his classic Unity book, Prosperity, Charles Fillmore gives us the key to stretch our consciousness in terms of how we can have faith in and confidence in manifesting our good. He said, pour your thoughts, words, and actions into your God essence, and you will prosper though all the banks in the world close. Turn the energy of your thinking toward divine ideas, and you will prosper regardless of the prevailing economic conditions. He goes on to say, spiritual substance does not fluctuate with the economy. It does not decrease in hard times. And there's a reason for that. What fluctuates, though, is our consciousness of abundance. We fill our consciousness with can'ts, won'ts, and unable-tos. Some people think in terms of lack. Some people allow themselves to be fooled by outer appearances. Others give up too quickly. Still others throw in the proverbial towel. However, when we raise our consciousness, we can manifest whatever we want. That's the promise. Align yourself with your higher self, and all these things will be added into you. That's what it says in Matthew 6:33. That's what it means. It means we must feng shui our thinking. When you think about it, from material addictions to spiritual aspirations. And that takes us to the hidden meaning behind the Genesis stories of creation. And you know, the Hebrew Bible is simply one of the sacred texts that is simply a story of our evolving spiritual consciousness. And so it's important to not focus on the out there for our prosperity, but the in here. Because prosperity, if the truth be told, does not come to us. It comes through us. That's the direction. Actually, there are 3 creation stories. One is in Genesis chapter 1. The second one is in Genesis chapter 2. Both of these are traditional accounts, and they both contradict each other. If you've read them, you know that's the case. But there's a third creation story that we're going to talk about this morning. It's not listed anywhere. It's a story that has to be formed in our consciousness. It's a metaphysical prosperity story based on that passage. Whatever our heart desires, we can achieve if we believe. Well, we're going to paraphrase, Cher and I will paraphrase the literal biblical account first, and then reveal the hidden message, which is the prosperity formula, step by step, inning by inning. The first step, inning, day, is found in Genesis 1:1. It says, and I'll paraphrase, "In the beginning the heavens and earth were created. The earth was formless, and darkness covered the face of the deep. And then there was light. And the light was good and was separated from the darkness." That's what the literal account says. Now, "in the beginning" is a mistranslation. What a surprise. It should actually say "in a beginning" or "in another beginning." And it's not just me saying that. Hebrew scholars say that the more accurate translation of the Hebrew word "bereshet" is "in a beginning," not "the beginning," which implies only one beginning. The correct translation is also more in line with our metaphysical treatment of this passage that you will hear in just a few moments. Now, the heavens in that verse represent our different levels of awareness. And the earth is our personality or ego consciousness. The darkness refers to our refusal to accept or our unawareness of our innate divinity. And the phrase "let there be light" simply means we must raise our consciousness from an ego level to our spiritual level. In other words, we must understand that the spiritual dynamics behind manifesting something material from something immaterial is up to us. We must learn how to materialize what we want from the field of infinite potential. That's what the physicists call it. Charles Fillmore called it universal substance. Now, what we want is already there in the field, in potential, waiting for us simply to call it forth by right of consciousness. Let me say that again. What we want, whatever we want, is already there in the field, in potential, waiting for us to call it forth by right of consciousness. Quantum physicists call this potential to exist a wavicle.
What?
A wavicle. That is, you're asking, what is a wavicle?
Yes.
It's something that simultaneously... I couldn't have paid to have that. A wavicle is something that's simultaneously both a wave and a particle. It possesses both those qualities. In a very real sense, we are wavicles. There are parts of us that are billions of years old. There are parts of us that are nanoseconds old. There are parts of us that are waves and parts of us that are particles. Now a wave, and I'm going to be very simplistic here, much more than this, a wave is trillions of particles, gazillions of particles in potential. Endless numbers of particles. A particle is a wave collapsed into one of those potentials made manifest. And there are both parts of us. We have opportunity to do that. So, the first step in manifesting our good is an intellectual understanding of spiritual laws and metaphysical truths. That's where we begin. Step number one. And by the way, Cher and I will distribute at the end of our talk today each of these steps, so you don't have to take notes. We captured them for you. Okay, step 2 is found in Genesis 1:6, and here's the literal account. Let there be an expanse or firmament between the waters to separate water from water. Isn't that curious? Metaphysically, this is what it means, a meaning. The firmament stands for the built-in connectivity between our head and our heart. That connectivity, which allows us to draw from the infinite field. Our job is to put the prosperity maximum as above, so below, into practice. That is, we must trust, have faith in our ability to transform our stream of consciousness, waters above, into something we want in accordance with our strong emotional desires, the waters below. The only way we can dam up the flow is to doubt that we can do that. Pure and simple. So the second step in manifesting our good is to have faith, trust, absolute certainty in the constant availability of universal supply. Remember, it comes through us, not to us. Day 3 is found in Genesis 1:9, and here's the account. The waters under the sky were gathered into one place, and the dry land appeared. The dry land was called earth, and the waters were called seas. Then the earth put forth vegetation, fruit trees and plants of every kind, especially blueberries, bananas, kiwi, and strawberries. I added that. And this step in the prosperity formula was good, as the account says. Now the waters in verse 9 are the same as the waters in verse 6, except that we use our heart-head connectivity to turn possibilities into probabilities through our actions, choices. We use the power of our imagination to focus our desires on something very specific in this step, and that something very specific is what the dry land stands for. Now, in a very real sense, this third step sees the world as a canvas, and our imagination is the palette. This third step can be explained as intuitive calisthenics, courting the muse, intellectual splunking, if you will. It's our imagination. So the third step in manifesting our good is simply using our powerful imagination to etch our desires in the field and draw from that field what it is that we want, without a doubt, with no doubt, because we have that power. Now we're almost halfway through the manifestation process now. Our pot of gold is half full, and what Cher will share with you next will fill that pot, and as she's on her way up, why don't we take a seventh inning stretch? Everybody up.
Just stretch and feel how good that feels. Make yourself an inch taller. Breathe, and then you may be seated. Doesn't that feel good? Yeah. And here's what's interesting. This is not the hug time. We can't find it, right? But here's what's so amazing. Just how it feels good when you stretch. Your body just says thank you. Well, our consciousness When we stretch it, it feels good. And it says, thank you. So that's really what we're all about in this phase. We're all about this stretching our consciousness. And it's a way to use the power of manifestation in a whole new way. People have thought the creation story is about creating the earth, but it's a formula, a hidden formula for us on how we can do that at a whole different level. Not from out there, from where? Within. So we're going to move to the next step. And I just love, I have a love for the Bible. I know we translate it metaphysically, but I'm going to read this from Scripture. And real quickly, I'm just going to do sort of a paraphrase. The fourth inning, this happens in Genesis 1, 16 through 19. And what happens here is the creation of two great lights. The greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. God made the stars and saw that it was good. So essentially what we have here are great lights. We have the sun, we have the moon, and we have the stars. So metaphysically, what do those things stand for? Well, we know that the sun metaphysically represents spiritual understanding. Spiritual understanding, which moves beyond the intellectual, because we move to that level of understanding from a spiritual perspective. I did not turn my mic. Good thing you can hear me anyway.
Thank you, Chris. So, now you can hear me, I don't have to shout. Okay, so we have the sun, which metaphysically is our spiritual understanding. We have the moon, which represents will. Will is our director inside. It's what helps us make choices. Okay, so we have the power to make choices, and we want to base it on our spiritual understanding. This is a really important step, because here we have spiritual understanding working with our ability to make our choices. And as we grow in our awareness, remember that infinite potential? We got the little pockets of consciousness and we're growing. As we learn more, guess what? That becomes the underwriting for our choices. We make better choices. And as we make wiser choices, we get ourselves in situations where we get better information, we open ourselves up to more knowledge, and we make better choices again. And so we're continually to grow and grow and grow. And the stars represent the divine ideas that are out there in infinite potential. Unlimited number of ideas. And so we get to choose which ones we're going to pull in and work on our creation. So essentially this fourth inning is spiritual understanding and will working together to make the best choices. And here's something you can know that you know that you know. When we make choices based on spiritual understanding, we can create things that are far greater than our ego could ever imagine. Okay? Far better than what we could think of from our human self. And more importantly, it never comes at the expense of another person. So that brings us that peace as we create what it is we are doing. So fourth inning, spiritual understanding and the will to make the right choices. And again, be thinking, how do I use these steps? These are doable things I put into practice. And so then we go to the fifth inning. And the fifth inning comes from verses 20 and 23, and God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven." And God saw that it was good. So here we're talking about the fish and the fowl of the air, the birds that fly, and we're looking at what does this mean? This represents our ability to discern truth from error. This is our ability, because the birds represent those divine ideas, and we can separate the divine from error thinking. So this is our chance to make choices based on what is true and release and eliminate anything that no longer serves us. That's tough sometimes, isn't it? It's hard to let go of those things that we have a connection to or an attachment to. But if we recognize from our higher level of understanding, from the fourth step, that these are things that are no longer serving us as we want to create the new things we're choosing from that infinite field of potential, wow, we can let them go. One of my favorite phrases is we let go of our good for our greater good. because it's always greater. So fifth inning, ability to discern truth from error, and make that separation. Oh, now we come to a really cool step. This is the sixth inning, the sixth step. And a lot of things happen in this sixth step. God creates the animals that roam on the earth, but then God created male and female. He created humankind. And God blessed them, and he said, have dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. And God saw everything he had made, and behold, it was very good. I like this one because it's the first time it says very. And it really does say very. Because here, this is two great things happen in this verse, or in this inning. Number one, we get dominion. We are promised dominion over the world of appearance. So we don't have to worry. We don't have to doubt. We don't have to be concerned about what's happening in the world of appearance. We get the dominion. If we use these steps, pull in, create, we get dominion. And then, when we talk about male-female, what this means metaphysically, it has nothing to do with women and men. It's our wisdom, and it is our feeling nature. Wisdom nature, thinking nature, feeling nature. Does not mean men are smart and women feel, okay? Nothing. We have that within us. Everyone has a thinking nature and a feeling nature. How do we pull those together to create? And so in this step, we bring together thinking and feeling. Because when wisdom and love come together, manifestation occurs. You can't just think about things, right? You have to put the energy under it of the feeling nature. So as you envision, your thinking will help you bring that out of infinite potential into what you want to manifest. But until you put the feeling nature with it, it isn't going to happen. And so we want to really constantly focus on how am I feeling about what it is I'm creating. As I give my affirmations, I'm saying them, I'm thinking them, I'm hoping I believe them, but am I feeling them? What will it feel like as I put it into action? One of the pieces that we like to say is, I assume the same feelings I would have as if this affirmation were already manifest. I assume the same feelings. So how would I be feeling? Now, it doesn't mean if you're affirming prosperity, you go out and go ahead and buy the car if you don't have the money to pay for it. That's not what it means. But how would you feel driving that car? If your hands were on the wheel and you were driving down the road, what the wind blowing in your hair, how would that feel? And what would that mean to you in terms of transportation to get me where I need to go? And how would that help me feel? And what can I achieve? So you see, you're building your feeling nature into it to pull it into reality, so that you begin to attract yourself to remember the stars. It doesn't mean a car will drop out of the sky, but it means the divine ideas will come to you as you're open to receive those ideas and put them into action. That's how it comes from the inside out. And guess what happens on the last day? Rest. Day 7, I just love this, because on day 7, we hear this. We hear that. I can't see it here. But on the 7th day, God blessed it. God blessed the 7th day, made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating all that he had done. Rest. Isn't that a great word? Rest. That's what Sabbath means. It means rest. And we're not talking about you go out on a couch and lie down and take a nap and put the TV on and let it go. It means we rest from fear, we rest from worry, we rest from error thinking, we relax into the knowing. We go into the silence and we know that we know that we know all is good. And so we hope this week you will have fun with this process. This is a process that is meant to have fun. And so we've created a play sheet. And the play sheet has all the steps on it with places for you to write on the back, and then some questions for you to discuss, either think about with your own meditation or get together with each other and kind of share those ideas. Or you can feel free to talk with us about them. But play with it this week. Choose something and focus on it and go through these steps. And we truly affirm that you get to experience the fun, the excitement, the joy of creating from a whole new level as you walk the spiritual path.